Hello, it is Monday, March 4th, and welcome to the Debrief. I'm Stephanie Ramos. We have a lot to get to today. Deadly tornadoes rip through Alabama towns. We're going to take you there. Also, a major snowstorm is moving through the Northeast, and the Democratic presidential field gets another candidate. We'll have all of those stories and more, but first, here are your headlines.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul now says he'll join Democrats in supporting a resolution that blocks the president from declaring a national emergency at the border. President Trump has promised that if the resolution reaches his desk, he'll veto it. 4 Americans and their Kenyan pilot were killed in the crash of a helicopter at Kenya's Central Island National Park. Witnesses say it appeared the chopper had developed mechanical trouble before crashing. The pilot of another chopper nearby reported seeing smoke before it went down.
Teachers in Oakland, California will be back in class today after agreeing over the weekend to a new contract deal. They'd been on strike for more than a week over pay and classroom conditions.
Tesla is about to unveil its newest vehicle. CEO Elon Musk tweeted Tesla's new SUV called the Model Y will be unveiled in Los Angeles next Thursday. Musk says the Model Y will be about 10% larger than the Model 3, Tesla's least expensive vehicle, and the Y will have slightly less range than the 3 while using the same battery. It's expected to cost about $38,000.
JetBlue is offering a chance to get free flights for a year if you're willing to give up your Instagram account. It's running a contest for anyone willing to delete all their Instagram pictures and instead just upload one that includes a hashtag for JetBlue. One person will win the free travel.
We want to start in Alabama, where 36 tornadoes have ripped through towns, killing at least 23 people. Rachel Scott is in Beauregard, Alabama, which saw some of the worst damage. We're seeing it there in this video. And Rachel, what are some of the things that you're seeing there on the ground?
Hey there, Stephanie. Well, just look at right behind me. This is as close as we could possibly get to the damage here. The police have blocked this area off to initiate search and rescue teams here in this city. So, and just take a look right here behind me too. You could see the line of folks waiting to get in here. We've seen the propane and gas and oil companies come by. We've seen emergencies crew come. You could see some of the emergency crews coming right now, all to initiate and continue the search and rescue efforts here. And, you know, this is just catastrophic, the damage that is here. Search and rescue teams are continuing to look for survivors after a 160-mile-per-hour tornado ripped through the county last night. The sheriff told us that every single piece of rubble will be gone through until everyone is accounted for. The entire state of Alabama is under a state of emergency right now, and the National Weather Service has confirmed that the tornado was an F3, and that same storm carried powerful winds through parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. President Trump also commented on that. He tweeted today saying that FEMA has been told directly by him to give A+ treatment to the great state of Alabama, as he says, and obviously sharing his condolences for those that have been faced with this catastrophic damage here. And just here we can kind of get an idea just off into the distance. I did see one of the homes that was completely flatlined, complete damage, but all of the damage is centralized in one area, it seems. You know, the sheriffs told ABC News a little bit earlier today that most of those people who died, more than 20 people that died, all were in 1 square mile of each other. So you could just see that while there may be damage just down the road over here, some of these homes made it out okay. And as we were driving down here just today on the side of the road, I did see a few dead animals, 1 dead dog. Again, search and rescue crews are looking and searching. They say they will continue to dig through every single piece of the rubble until everyone is accounted for, Stephanie.
Unbelievable damage there, Rachel. And now that it's daylight, we know authorities are able to see certain areas where they couldn't see overnight. And of course, I can imagine their main concern right now is to find those people that are unaccounted for.
Yes, that's correct. And that was part of the problem, right? When this tornado ripped through this area last night, it was dark. And so this morning, sheriffs said they had drones flying overhead with special technology, heat technology, to try and spot any survivors, to try and spot any bodies. And again, this is a complete hands-on effort here. As the president said, he told FEMA to give this their full attention, and search and rescue efforts will continue here in this town.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much for that report live from Beauregard, Alabama. Let's stick with weather. Major snowstorm canceling flights, shutting down schools in the Northeast. Rob Marciano joins us live in Boston. And Rob, I got into New York City late last night, took the train from D.C., and there were so many people on that train that were talking about their flights being canceled. This is a big deal and really disrupting travel overnight.
All on a Monday morning. Good morning. Stephanie, yeah, hundreds of flights were canceled, and the best route, as you know, from D.C. to New York, even when the weather's good, is to take that train. And a lot of folks are probably taking the train today from Boston down to New York as well. You can see the snow is still falling just a little bit. We're trying to get some sun to break through to help melt some of this. It's having some hard time doing that, but we'll have some success of that today. But, you know, Boston this year has been relatively quiet. 3.5 inches was their biggest snowfall. Can you believe that? Well, this blew that out of the water. 10 inches here in the city of Boston. You can see it's completely covered in white. And this is that heavy, wet snow, high water content. So it's difficult to shovel. It's difficult to plow. It's sticking on some of these trees. But, you know, the kids got a snow day here. This is the first snow day they've had in a while. You guys having fun? Yeah, laughter. Kids laughed. You can't get any better than that. You guys all right? You having a good time? Right? Who doesn't love some snow? All right, be careful, it's a little slick. But check this out, guys. I mean, the sidewalks here and the pavement helps that they're black in the March sun getting through some of the cloud cover there, helping melt that. But we're gonna need a lot more melting today because what's coming is some big time cold. First, let's take a look at the radar. You can see just the leftover bands of this, the very back edge, with not really accumulating snow left over here, maybe in Maine. This all gets out of here in the next couple of hours. And then in to replace it tonight into tomorrow morning is the air that's been in Chicago, that's been in Minneapolis, that's felt like the middle of January with wind chills that have been 10, 20 below. Some of that's getting to the Northeast, so it'll be below freezing all day tomorrow with actually wind chills that'll feel pretty brutal and stay at, near, or below freezing right through the rest of the week. So what is here is going to stick around. A quick nod to our friends in the West who've had it pretty bad as well. California, you had a bit of about a 36-hour break. Next round is coming in for you tomorrow, and Wednesday won't be quite the atmospheric river that we saw last week, but nonetheless, you're pretty saturated there, and you'll get some more snow up in the mountains. It's a pretty city, Stephanie. I know you know in Boston when it snows out, but the tight buildings, the hills, it gets a little bit difficult to get around early in the morning. But they're having a better time of it today. It does help that it's March. This is the third snow event we've had in the Northeast this week. So old man winter making up for lost time after what's been a relatively quiet winter here along the I-95 corridor.
Awesome, Rob. Thank you so much. A fast-moving storm making its way out. And kudos to your photographer out there giving us that perspective, showing us that area. But that extreme cold moving in, so those kids enjoy being outside for today. All right, sticking with the weather, we want to check in with Ginger Z, who is in Rockland County, New York.
Stephanie, thank you. You can see all of this heavy, wet snow behind me, and it's actually taken down. See how that limb just popped right back up there? That's how heavy it is. We had about 8 to 12 inches just outside New York City, up into Westchester County. But you go to Rhode Island or Massachusetts, you ended up with up to 17 inches. Boston, Logan, 9.5, their biggest snow of the season. They went into this storm not about 1.5 feet below average. So we are making up for lost time, what has been a very slow season here. And it is that heavy, wet, packing snow. That's why you had tens of thousands, including my family, without power. It's already moving. I mean, this thing, I'm seeing blue in the sky. In New England, they'll be rid of it by late morning, and then we'll have to be talking about the next storm coming onto the West Coast. Stephanie?
All right, Ginger, thank you so much. Let's go to Washington now, where the president's emergency declaration to build a wall along the southern border is getting some pushback on the Senate side, setting the stage for his first possible veto. Lana Zach is at the White House for us this morning. Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Stephanie.
So you actually asked the president in the Oval Office if he thought Republicans would support the joint resolution to invalidate his emergency declaration. What did he say?
That's right. This was the last time we heard from President Trump in the Oval Office before he went to Vietnam. And he told me at that time that he thought Republicans were going to stick by him. We didn't know if there would be enough Republican support for this joint resolution that would invalidate President Trump's work on the border wall. We found out today. The big headline is with Senator Rand Paul now saying that he simply cannot continue to support, in his words, an overreach of the executive branch. He will be voting in favor of this democratically sponsored bill. So it is now going to pass because Senator Susan Collins of Maine, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska are all also on board. There may be now some additional Republicans that come on line as well now that they know that it's going to pass and they're not going to be the ones issuing that deciding vote. President Trump at the time also said that if it were to make it to his desk, which it now looks like it will, he would 100% veto it. And as you mentioned, that would be the very first veto of the Trump administration.
The fight continues there in Washington. And Lana, another headline on this Monday morning after the Michael Cohen hearing, the much anticipated Michael Cohen hearing, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee telling our George Stephanopoulos that he will demand documents from over 60 current and former Trump administration officials. What's the latest on that?
Well, this is a very big deal. He's talking about people here at the White House, people at the Department of Justice, members of the Trump business organization, as well as members of the first family, that he's going to be requesting documents from all of them. And we heard from White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders in a paper statement just a little bit ago. She says that they have received that letter and that the White House counsel's office is going to be reviewing it and responding to it at the appropriate time. Stephanie.
All right. ABC's Lana Zach at the White House. Thank you so much. We want to check in with ABC's political director, Rick Klein, also in Washington. And Rick, another Democrat throwing their hat into the ring, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, adding his name, of course, to an already crowded field of Democratic candidates. What do we know about him?
14 candidates and counting, Stephanie, so it is getting crowded fast. Here's the thing about John Hickenlooper. He's the former governor of Colorado. There are a couple of things that make him unique or close to unique in this field. One is he's a governor. He's only the second governor out of that list of 14 so far in the field. Jay Inslee from Washington State just declared on Friday. Traditionally, governors have done pretty well in Democratic primaries and Republican primaries, so that's a little surprising. The second is he is a raging moderate. He calls himself a radical moderate, as a matter of fact. And in a field with a whole lot of progressives, a whole lot of liberals, John Hickenlooper's hope is that his pitch will be, look, I can get things done. I can work with Republicans. I can work with Democrats. Not clear that's where the base is, but at least it's a different message, a different sort of message that he hopes will break through.
And Rick, so we know you're super smart, and you'll probably get this, but we're about to quiz you, okay?
Go.
So there are about 14 candidates. There are 14 candidates, as you mentioned. We're going to stump Rick Klein, try to anyway. 14 candidates have already declared on the Democratic side. Can you name them all?
Oh, man, that is tough. I'll start with the hard ones first. By the way, you blanked my screen over here, so I can't even see what's up here. Very well done in the control room. Whoever did that,
right.
Thumbs up for that.
We see it, but you can't. And if this is too easy for you, Rick, you know what we'll do? Tell us in what order they declared. But we'll start with naming all 14.
You have to start with John Delaney, Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson. Those are the ones that most people won't get. So I'll start with those three, whether that's the order or not. I'm going to go with Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Tulsi Gabbard.
Of course.
And of course, Inslee and Hickenlooper. I just mentioned the two of them. Man, I'm getting stuck now. Cory Booker, did I get him yet?
You did get Cory.
I have to think now geographically a little bit. I'm getting stuck in the middle here. How many are left?
One guy named Pete.
Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
Yes.
How can I forget Mayor Pete? How many left now?
Let's see. I'm looking at Bernie. Did you say Bernie?
I got Bernie like 5 minutes ago.
Of course, right?
Come on, that's an easy one. He was big. he was big. He was big over the weekend.
Yeah.
I think am I close enough? Where
I think you are. You
right.
you get it. Yeah, you get it. We didn't check them off the screen there, but you got most of them.
Trust me, I got them all. We're all good.
We do trust you, and it was a big weekend for a lot of these candidates. A lot of them spending a lot of time in Alabama, and it was solemn remembrance of the march there.
Yeah, Selma, Alabama, which of course is hallowed ground for the civil rights movement. It was an intriguing event. In addition to a march, there was a breakfast celebration of Hillary Clinton. She was celebrated for her work on civil rights. She gave a blistering speech about President Trump, even calling him a racist at one point. And intriguing to see all these 2020ers there, including Bernie Sanders, a very curt little handshake. Of course, Bernie just on Friday told The View that he did not have any plans to seek out Hillary Clinton's advice. That started a little bit of a tussle with some of her staffers. So memories of 2016 are still pretty raw.
Absolutely. And Rick, I have one more question for you. I've found it really interesting that over the last couple of weeks, as all of these Democrats are declaring that they're running for president, a lot of them, especially the women, kind of holding off on giving any kudos to Hillary Clinton, who we know was the first woman to run for president. We know Amy Klobuchar, I think, mentioned it recently. But do you think there's this just awareness of kind of distancing themselves from Hillary Clinton, even though she was the first woman to run?
She was the first nominee, that's right, the first to win a nomination in either party for president. I think all of those women and many of the men as well owe their political existences to Hillary Clinton and to the Clintons. But it is a double-edged sword right now. The memories of Bill Clinton are not uniquely positive, nor are they positive about Hillary Clinton, who lost to President Trump. They are going to have to be careful with this. I think most of them are going to show a little more deference than Bernie Sanders in soliciting advice. But there's none of the candidates out of these 14 that I've rattled off so ably today, Stephanie, that would say I am the Clinton candidate. I am the Bill or the Hillary Clinton candidate. None of them want that label.
No, absolutely. They're being very careful with that. All right, ABC's political director Rick Klein in Washington. Rick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We want to take you over to California now. Outrage there after prosecutors say they would not charge 2 police officers in the shooting of an unarmed black man, Stephon Clark. Matt Gutman is in Los Angeles with this story.
Hey, Stephanie, basically everybody admits that a mistake was made. You have the DA coming out over the weekend. Very strange for an announcement like this to be made on a Saturday. Still, the DA comes out this weekend, as does the mayor, and both of them say this was a tragic mistake. This should not have happened. But the DA says it was not a crime. The officers on the scene at Stephon Clark's grandmother's house, where he apparently had gone while acting evasive, according to police, after allegedly smashing car windows. So he'd gone there. The officers, according to the district attorney, did have a credible fear or reason to believe that he was acting erratically enough that it justified their use of lethal force. So she says, did they make the right decision? No. But did they act illegally? And that is also no. So they were within their rights, she says, to have pulled out their guns and fired at Stephon Clark. Now, the family attorney has spoken to me this morning. He says this is an outrage. They are incensed at this decision. He says it shows that there is racism within the Sacramento District Attorney's office, that this was a bad decision, and that does not reflect the autopsy reports on the ground. Basically, Stephon Clark had his back turned to the officer, so he could not have been a credible threat to their lives. Also, as a result of that, they are now pushing for the Attorney General's independent investigation into what happened. They think that they want to take this one step farther. They are also suing the city for wrongful death. That's a $20 million civil suit that they're launching against the city of Sacramento. So there are additional steps that the family and their attorneys hope to take at this point. They are calling into question this investigation. They are saying it is wrong-headed. And in addition to that, what is more outrageous is that it seems to have used character assassination against Stephon Clark to try to make the district attorney's point that the officers had no recourse but to shoot him, and that shooting was justified. So there's a lot more to come, especially heading up to the March 18th one-year anniversary of Stephon Clark's death. We're going to see a lot more protests, I'm told, in the city of Sacramento. And again, the family and their attorneys hope that these protests will push the Attorney General into agreeing into some sort of independent investigation into what happened. Stephanie.
And we heard from Stephon Clark's family over the weekend, and their emotions obviously very raw. Thank you very much, Matt. Staying in California, we want to check in with Will Carr, who is following this amazing story of these two little girls, these two sisters who had been missing for 2 days in the woods, but they were found alive and well. We want to check in with Will.
Good morning, Stephanie. This really is an amazing story of survival. People here are still trying to wrap their minds around how these two little girls could actually survive out in the woods for 44 hours. This entire area is surrounded by rough, unforgiving terrain. Caroline and her sister Leah Carrico, both 8 and 5 years old, vanished from their home here in Bimbo, which is a pretty rugged area, on Friday. They had asked their mom if they could go for a walk in the woods. She said, give me a couple minutes, like a lot of parents do because they're busy. And instead of waiting for their mom, they simply walked out together and then got lost out into the woods. Now, the sheriff says they relied on outdoor survival training that they had from the 4-H program. They ended up licking water droplets off leaves. They didn't have any food. Once they realized that they were lost, they just stayed in one area, and the sheriff says that could have really helped them survive over the 44 hours that they were lost in those dense woods in this area. More than 200 people ended up searching for the girls, combing through the forest. They had 12 K-9 teams and a Black Hawk helicopter. Ultimately, 2 volunteer firefighters actually were able to track the girls' boot prints, and they found them on Sunday. The girls were dehydrated, but other than that, they were incredibly happy to be found, and then they had an emotional reunion with their parents. They were also rushed to the hospital, where there's a picture of the 2 girls on one bed there in the hospital. Their cheeks are red, and their parents are elated that this is the outcome to this story. There's also a lot of credit being given to the 2 men who helped find them. Stephanie.
An amazing ending to that story. I can imagine what a terrifying time that was for those parents as they waited to see if their little girls were okay. Thank you very much, Will Carr. Well, that'll do it for us here in New York City. Thank you for watching The Debrief. I'm Stephanie Ramos, and don't forget you can watch our political show, The Briefing Room, every day at 3:30 and at 8 o'clock. Make sure to tune into World News Prime. And of course, for all of your latest news, download the ABC News app. For ABC News Live, again, I'm Stephanie Ramos, and thanks for joining us.